You're listening to Impact, a Temple University podcast about service, sacrifice, and Temple made.
You are a warrior.
Yes.
Okay. So before we start to unpack all of that, do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 siblings, and then 3 if I count my cat. But yeah.
I feel sorry for them. So let's start with what was it like growing up before you joined the Army?
Growing up, well, I have 2 sisters. I'm the middle child, so it was always my dad was always hanging out with my older sister, and then my mom was always with my younger sister, and it was just kind of just me there by myself. But before I joined the Army, I didn't feel like my parents had much attention on me. That didn't really happen. I didn't really get a lot of attention until after everything started erupting with like career-wise and stuff. But I had a pretty great childhood, humbled. We didn't grow up rich. We actually grew up really poor, but my mom was really good at getting things done on her own, so we were comfortable.
Very resourceful.
Yeah, she's very resourceful.
And what was your pathway to joining the Army like?
It was pretty easy. My dad fought back against it. He didn't want me to join the military, but my mom, she saw the benefits in it and was okay with me going. But I had to get both of their permission. So eventually my dad came around and was like, it's okay for you to go. And I primarily wanted to go to the military because I wanted to get an education. At the time when I was applying to colleges, I knew that my number 1 school would be Monmouth University in South Jersey. And I got accepted, but I didn't have the funds to pay for it, and financially wasn't covering enough. So I decided to go to the military.
Were you disciplined when you were younger?
Yes. My parents are big on discipline. My parents are West Indian, so they're from Guyana, South America, and they are big on discipline. Don't talk back, talk to elders with respect, the whole everything. They're just always on it.
And so when you joined the Army, that was not a new thing. The discipline aspect was not a new thing. Yeah,
it definitely wasn't. I honestly, I had fun in basic training. I had a lot of fun. Plus, it was pretty easy. I was a student athlete in high school, so just going through everything, it wasn't hard. It was pretty fun.
What sport did you play?
Oh, I did a lot. I did track and field. I did tennis. I did competitive cheerleading. I did swimming. I was actually the swim captain at my park, in my city park. So it was a lot of fun. We competed against other cities.
What didn't you do?
Sing. I cannot sing. Yeah, it's real bad.
Next endeavor for you to conquer. So your motivation to join the Army was so that you can attend higher ed as a means of paying for it.
Absolutely.
And when you after basic training and while you were in the Army, like, did that change you in any way?
I think it did. I mean, I was always disciplined before I went to the military, but I definitely feel that there was more of an awakening for different things that I wanted to achieve, and I became more focused and more disciplined, but my discipline allowed me to become more focused on what I wanted to achieve in life. So it definitely helped me see the path that I want to go down and how to achieve it.
So what was that path?
That path, it's still being made, but I know for a fact that I want to be a serial entrepreneur. I want to be a businesswoman 100%. I do not want to work for anyone. And I've already started that now. I've go to meetings every day just to try and get this business plan and bring it to life. I've been meeting with the bank and trying to get things finalized. And hopefully by June, that path will be more clear.
And that was shaped, was it shaped or reinforced or confirmed? Or how would you say that was influenced by your Army experience?
The Army showed me that, I'm trying to put this the right way, but I always knew that I was a strong person mentally and physically, but the Army helped confirm it. They helped show me that, I am a pretty smart person. Not pretty smart, I'm a very smart person, and that I have the mental capacity to take on just about anything that I put myself towards, and it's worked so far, so there's no reason to not continue with it.
Being fearless, yes, not being afraid. Have you been deployed?
No, I haven't.
Okay. How does that how do you see, like, when you see your other colleagues or other soldiers being deployed and you're not there with them?
It's a little sad. I've always wanted to. I mean, I've been outside the country, but I've always wanted to be outside the country for military work. Also grateful too, just because I'm not going to any combat zones or any hazardous areas. But it's definitely a little sad. My unit, a couple of people went on a massive deployment this last year, and they're going to be there for a full year, and I'm not there with them, so it's a little saddening.
Wow. So how did you go on a path to be a drill sergeant?
So I've always told myself I wanted to be an officer, but I had an opportunity this year to become a drill sergeant, and I had an opportunity in 2021 to become a drill sergeant. I was actually an ROTC here at Temple University.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I did that for 2 years up to my sophomore year, and then eventually I decided I could either continue this path as an NCO and get a few more things in before I take the route to become an officer, or I can just stay in ROTC and not get anything else done and just become an officer. But I was talking with my unit leadership, and they said, you should probably take it. You can always become an officer. You're young. You have time. And so I took it. And eventually I got into my new unit, which is a drill sergeant unit, and they got me on their books immediately. I got shipped off to the Drill Sergeant Academy, got my badge. It was awesome.
So when you're at the Drill Sergeant Academy, what's that like?
Oh my gosh. My first day there, I passed out. Well, I didn't pass out. I almost passed out.
How?
So they were showing us around. Well, the first day I got there, really, we were getting settled in. But the next day was when everything really started. Wake up, and we had to be there at, I think it was 12 o'clock on the field. This is blistering hot summer down in South Carolina. I was not used to the heat. It was like 98 degrees outside. I barely drank any water that day, which was my fault. I didn't have enough electrolytes, and I didn't drink enough water. And they had us out in the field, and they had us running around the compound, the Drill Sergeant Academy compound, and they were just showing us around. And eventually we stopped, and it was like an abrupt stop. I locked my knees. Anybody knows, you lock your knees, blood stops circulating in your legs, and eventually I just started seeing purple and then black, and then somebody caught me and walked me over to the bench, and it was embarrassing. I was the only one that passed out on the first day. It was so embarrassing.
Did you feel like, okay, I had enough, or this is not for me, or?
No, I definitely knew this was for me. I just know my body's limitations, and I knew that I didn't drink enough water, so that was on me.
So what are some of the things that you guys learn in the academy for being a drill sergeant?
At the academy, so we pretty much learn the first 2 weeks we're learning all of the administrative stuff. So it's military regulations, ethics, doctrines, things like that, that we have to teach back to the soldiers. And then we start getting more into the physical stuff. So we learn about physical readiness training and how to train, civilians. And then we get into marksmanship, field training exercises, and, things like that. We're pretty much going through basic training again, but way more hardcore.
Way more hardcore, yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the physical activities?
So we actually get to do a lot of the trainings that the privates do. So 6120s, running for walking for 60 seconds and then running for like 120 seconds, or learning the new ACFT, Army Combat Fitness tests. So deadlifts. I can't even remember all the things that are on. Deadlifts. Then there's the ball toss. It's just everything. Yeah, it just total body workouts. Sprint drag carry, that one is a killer. So there's a lot of different exercises you can do to work on that.
What is that about? What does that entail?
Oh, so the sprint drag carry, it's one of the tests on the Army Combat Fitness test, and the soldier essentially, there's an entire setup. There's supposed to be multiple lanes, and the soldiers are supposed to run 25 meters, then run back, and then you immediately pick up 90 pounds of weights on a skid, and you're supposed to walk backwards, but it's more like a jog backwards. So you're running, carrying the weight, and then you carry it back another 25 meters. And then you sprint, but sideways. So it's like a side shuffle. You go all the way down 25 meters and then back 25 meters. And then after that, you pick up dumbbells, which are both 45 pounds. So you're carrying 90 pounds again. And then you run down 25 meters, run back 25 meters, and you put that down, and then you sprint again. So it's like a sprint dry carry.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what about in the marksmanship? What are some of the activities that are there?
Yeah, so marksmanship is pretty much just learning your rifle. You could be using a M4 or an M16. M4, more modernized, brand new. M16, old. Standard Army weapon. It's very old, very outdated, but most of the soldiers now, especially on the basic training compounds, are using the M4. So you're just learning how to use that, shooting techniques, breathing control, learning about the different bullets that can be used in the weapon, and just how to fire a weapon effectively.
What's your preference when you're out training?
For what specifically?
Marksmanship.
So marksmanship is actually my favorite because I'm really good at shooting a weapon, but M4 for sure. I cannot use the M16. I mean, I have long arms, so I can definitely reach out and hold the weapon, but the M4, the buttstock is retractable, so you can always customize it to your perfect size.
Nice. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So do you regret going down the drill sergeant path?
I don't. I think it makes me look really good. It's an honorable path to take, and there's not a lot of women that are drill sergeants, and there's not a lot of young ones either. So I feel like taking this path just makes me look better on paper. People actually don't believe me when I say I'm a drill sergeant. Like, they never...
I didn't believe it.
Yeah, nobody ever believes me when I say I'm a drill sergeant, but it's something I always have to prove and show them, like, a picture with me and my hat on, or, but I think it's a great path. I do not regret it at all.
Do you get pushbacks from, like, other soldiers? Like, do they take you, like, not seriously?
All the time.
Wow.
All the time. Sometimes people don't take me seriously until they see the hat and the badge.
Is there, like, a drill sergeant hat?
Yeah, so there's the female hat and then there's the male hat. I think the male hat is cooler, but the female hat is it's more efficient. It's flexible. You can throw it in the washer, put it in the dryer, comes out the same. Male hat, you cannot do anything with it. It has to stay inside of this like firm box to keep it in shape. But the women's hat, you could do anything with it. I honestly just throw mine in my trunk and just take it out the next day, and to go to work, it's still the same.
That's very fitting in the resiliency end. So from being a drill sergeant, what are the what's the next pathway for you in the Army?
So the next pathway is becoming an officer. Hopefully I get my acceptance letter for Temple's Masters of Business Administration program. And with that in mind, I'd be starting ROTC here at Temple for 2 years, and I'd commission and become an officer.
Are you looking forward to it?
I am. I'm very excited. I'm not, just because I'd have to deal with a whole bunch of people that don't know anything about the Army. So I'd probably just be standing in the back, just watching everything. But I'm very excited, very pumped up to go to ROTC again.
What's like a day-to-day routine like for a drill sergeant?
So for a drill sergeant, day-to-day activity. Well, it depends if you're on the duty week or not. Duty week would mean that you're the drill sergeant in charge of that week. And you would be making the training plan for the entire week. So from Sunday to Sunday, essentially. But if you're not on duty week, I know the wake up times are really early. So you have to be there around like 4 or 5 in the morning. It's probably 4 because in PRT, physical readiness training starts at 5 a.m. So that'll be about an hour, and then the trainees would go and change to get ready for breakfast. So that's like another 15 or 20 minutes. So then we'll probably just say, let's just round it up to 7 a.m. Actually, no, PRT should be about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So they'll be doing that, and then they go and get changed, yada, 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 everything's done. They get ready for breakfast. So that's 7 a.m. DFAC opens up around 7:30. So you march them over there. And then after breakfast, they'd be going back to the training compound. Everything should be on the same training compound. So they just go back to the barracks, and then they'd get ready for the day. So that would entail whatever they're doing. So if it's marksmanship, they'd be going out to the field, or If it's administrative stuff, they'd be in the classrooms. I'm not sure how long that's going to take, but it could take till noon, and then you get them ready for lunch, and then they go to lunch. And there's also probably some moments throughout the day where you smoke them a little bit. So
what does that mean?
So smoking is when you make the trainees do a lot of different exercises. And it's pretty much like a punishment, or they say corrective action. That's the proper term. It's corrective actioning. That's probably some of my favorite things to do, but I'm more of a
What are
laid-back.
some of those corrective action things?
Ooh, so if during red phase, which is the first phase of basic training where they're brand new, they just got there to about, I think it's like 3 weeks in, that's red phase, and it's a lot of corrective action during that time period. So some of my favorites, well, two of my favorites, I'll let you know, is taking them to the beach and going for a swim. So taking them to the beach this is when they act up really bad and they start getting used to things. So they start doing a couple of things they're not supposed to do, but they think they could get away with it, but you see it. So you're not going to smoke them yet until it's time to take them to the beach. So essentially you'd make them take sandbags, which is everywhere outside of the barracks, and you make them bring it upstairs. And they have to bring it upstairs within 2 minutes. So everybody has to grab a sandbag and bring it upstairs.
How many flights of stairs?
It just depends on the barracks. But they would just go into the barracks, they'd bring the sandbag in, and then you give them 5 minutes to drop empty every sandbag on the floor within their bay, the bay that they sleep in, everywhere. Like not a spot clean without sand. And then what you would do is line them all up and you'd smoke them in the sand.
So what is that when you say smoke them? What is that? What is that exact term? Like,
So
what does that look like?
You'd make them do push-ups. You'd make them do V-ups. They do the swimmer, which is you put one arm up, one leg up, and you alternate back and forth. Very tiring exercises. The mountain climber, the single leg push-up, jumping jacks, anything you could possibly think of, but all PRT exercises. The Y squat, anything. And then after that, once you're finished smoking them, that's about 30 minutes of smoking. Get them really tired. You give them 5 minutes to clean up all the sand, which is impossible to do. It's not possible. So they're gonna get smoked anyways.
So they have to carry the bags of sand into their barracks, empty it out, lay out the sand everywhere that's in the barracks. Then on top of the sand, they are exerted to intense physical activity. And then on top of that, once they're done with that, they have 5 minutes to clean up all of the sand.
Yeah.
And what happens if they don't clean up the sand?
They get smoked again.
For how long?
Well, when my drill sergeant did it when I was back in basic training, they did it for like a good 30 minutes. It wasn't too bad.
How long does that cycle repeat?
You only do this about once because it's something that it's a lot to do to trainees, but it's something that's necessary to reel them back in when they start going off of the path that they're supposed to be taking towards graduation. So only once a cycle. Yeah.
So this is it's a discipline measure.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it works.
So I remember reading that there's some of the new ways of training has become sort of relaxed. What do you think about that?
I definitely think a lot of the training has become relaxed, even just down to a weapon. I know down in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, where I went to basic training, as soon as we got to our actual like basic training unit, they issued our weapons like the second day. And we kept our weapons with us everywhere because when you're out in the field or you're out in the real army world and you go to a combat zone, you have a weapon on you. That's just the way it is. Something happens, you don't have your weapon, then you're screwed. In basic training, it should be the same. You should be carrying a weapon. Now, you don't carry a weapon. You only get your weapon a couple of days out of the week. And even those couple of days, you only have it for a few hours. So there's that relationship of being accountable for a weapon isn't there anymore.
So do you think that's going to be very detrimental in combat situations?
I think 50-50 on it, just because combat situations are so modernized nowadays. It's more so just advanced forms of technology taking care of these issues for us. But at the same time, if things were to become bad, like really, really bad, where we'd have to send massive amount of soldiers off overseas, it would be bad.
What are some of the most challenging things that you have seen as a drill sergeant, and how did you overcome those?
Some of the most stressful things, probably just trainees underestimating me because I'm a woman or that I'm like a lot younger than them. I've seen some very old trainees that are like in their late 30s, or not very old. That's not old, but for basic training, it's on the older side to join the military. Late 30s, early 40s, but they have to go through the training. They have to go through the same training that we do. So they would talk to you a different way or treat you differently, and it's hard, but you have to be stern with them and let them know, like, just because I'm younger than you doesn't mean that I'm any different, or doesn't mean that I'm less capable of doing my job. I'm the one that's a drill sergeant. I'm the one wearing the badge. I have the hat. You got to listen. And that's just the way it is. And if you don't want to listen, we could take this up higher. And
smoke them out.
Exactly. Smoke them out. But then after that, I'd still process paperwork. Yeah.
Is it a lot of paperwork?
It's not a lot just to do counseling. But for officers, it's a lot of paperwork if it goes higher.
So you competed in the Best Warrior competition.
Yes.
Well, when Christy told me about that, I was like, I want to know I want to learn all about that. That seemed really intense.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in that? What motivated you? And what is Best Warrior? Let's start with that.
Yeah. So the Best Warrior competition is a competition that happens on the battalion level or brigade level or division level. But for my instance, 2021 I did division level, and this year I did division level, and it's pretty much just a group of soldiers come together from the division, and they compete against each other in multiple different categories. So mental agility, physical fitness, land navigation skills, weapons marksmanship. What else do we do? It's just a lot of different things, but it pretty much cultivates around those ideas. And then they have different events. So there's going to be a land navigation event. There's going to be an Army combat fitness test, which usually happens within the first 2 days. There's going to be a multiple choice test on Army history. There's also a ruck march, which is probably one of the most popular events. They always have it. 12-mile ruck march. And also what was the other event? Oh, there's an obstacle course, which is pretty fun, and an essay event. And they usually choose some Army regulation to do the essay off of. So it could be about SHARP, it could be about equal opportunity, things like that.
And what are the different levels? There was a unit, battalion, brigade, division, right? So how do you progress?
So for the 98th training division, we usually don't do it any lower than that. It usually just always starts at division level. Each individual battalion is responsible for sending the best fit soldiers to go and compete, or they either volunteer or they get selected. My case, I volunteered, but they also selected me, so I just decided to go just because I know it's fun and it's a great opportunity to be seen at the division level, which is always important, because if you want to go to any type of school like Air Assault, Airborne, Pathfinder, people at the division level need to know who you are.
How intense is it?
It's very intense. You wake up, back when I did it in 2021, immediately as soon as I got there with all my gear, they did a layout. So they had to see if we had everything that was on the packing list. And if you didn't have it, you lost a point for that. If you brought extra items, which were the optional items to bring, like sunscreen, notebooks, markers, pens, you got extra points for that. So immediately I was just getting the points because I brought all my gear. And then that same day we had to do an essay. It was about SHARP, 500-word essay done in 50 minutes, which was pretty fun, and got that done. It was a pretty late night, so, it wasn't that late, but we went to bed we got back to our barracks around 9 o'clock, so it was enough time to get ready for the next morning. The next morning, we did a stress shoot, so we went to the range, and we got to fire off the M4s. It was great, and they graded us. We did the previous the previous marksmanship qualification. So it was, you get 30 rounds. You shoot 10 in the supported prone position, 10 in the unsupported, and then 10 kneeling. That's the old one. And then after that, I think there was another event, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But that night we went to bed pretty late. We got back to our barracks around 10 o'clock. So it means that you wouldn't go to bed till about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, depending on how long it takes you to get ready to go to bed. The whole competition is very late night, very early morning. And it's all about mental strength. What is your will to continue to get through this? Even down to the last day, the last event, it's the 12-mile ruck march. So that's pretty early. You're getting up around 4 a.m. You're doing 12 miles on a terrain. You don't know what the terrain is like, and you don't know how many loops it is that you have to do. So that one we did, it was 6 miles there, 6 miles back. That was hard. 2021, I was not air assault qualified, so I did not know how to ruck march well. I think I only did like 4 miles on that one. But this year, 2023, I completed the entire 12-mile ruck march just because I know how to ruck march really well now. But my feet were definitely injured. But it was fun. I had a lot of fun.
Is there a particular way to march, the ruck march?
Yeah, so if you're going uphill, you usually walk fast, but you don't run. If you're going downhill, you run. You sprint if you can.
So you let the gravity and the momentum carry you.
Yeah, exactly. You let your momentum carry you. And another big thing is always making sure that your rucksack is set properly. I've seen so many soldiers not pack their rucksacks properly. They'll put all their heavy weight at the bottom and the light weight at the top. So then when they're walking, they're being carried back by their rucksack, when instead you should have the light weight at the bottom, the heavy weight at the top. And then also making sure that all the buckles and straps are strapped onto you properly, so your rucksack isn't loose. It's like you're all one unit. You're ready to go. Yeah, there's a science to it that you have to know. But you can only know if somebody teaches you. You can't just figure this stuff out off the internet.
Do you when you compete in the Best Warrior, like what's the preparation like? How do you prepare for it?
So I think the best way to prepare for the Best Warrior competition is to really just go off of the Army Combat Fitness test. So making sure that you're conditioning yourself. So heavy cardio, definitely weightlifting also, just because a lot of the events, especially when you go on the obstacle course, it's like all cardio. You need to have the strength. You need to have the what's the word I'm looking for? I know the word. The adrenaline, not the adrenaline, the endurance. You need to have the endurance to get through the obstacle course. But also at the same time, you're waking up super early and you're going to bed super late. So you need to train yourself to, be up early and be out late. And then also your feet health. Every day you're on your feet for this. And then even the land nav competition, you're out walking miles and miles just to find these points. So you got to make sure your feet are taken care of and make sure you have quality boots that are not brand new but broken in so you can handle the terrains.
I was going to ask about the boots. It seems like something really important. Are they comfortable to wear?
It depends on which boots you get. Basic training boots, not comfortable. I mean, I got used to them.
Is that by design?
I think it is. The basic training boots have been the same boots for a while now. So I think they have just been by design, just faulty boots. Probably just a cheap way out, easy boots. Everybody gets them. They're cheap. They're easy to order. Just buy a mass amount of them, just have them stocked up. But when you get out of basic training, you have the liberty to go out and buy nicer boots. Like I have not every boot, but I have Garmont's, I have Nike, I have Daners. I have like 3 Nike boots. 2 of them I haven't even touched yet. 2 of them are actually the same boot. That I don't know why I have 2 of them, but I think I made an accident and bought one boot and then realized that I might have misplaced it. So then I bought another one and I forgot to return it. But yeah, I have all different boots, and the Garmont's probably the best one for the field. Like the terrain, I don't feel anything. It feels amazing, but I have really sensitive feet. So I have to make sure that my boots are really quality.
So we talked about your pathway to joining the Army, going into the drill sergeant, being a drill sergeant, really laying it out to the recruits, the Best Warrior competition. How does that compare to your participation in Miss USA Earth?
Ooh, I love this question. So, Best Warrior competition and Miss Earth USA.
They're like polar opposite.
Well, they when you look at it from an outside perspective, they're polar opposites, but from my position, they're kind of the same.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe it that way?
Well, they're both a week long.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're both a week long. They're both, you wake up early, you go to bed super late. You have to show off your mental agility skills. So a lot of public speaking. Even at the Best Warrior competition, there's a lot of public speaking. Like, you're being looked at every single time. Miss Earth USA, you're being looked at every single time. And then also your physical endurance. So the Best Warrior competition, we have to do the Army Combat Fitness test. Everybody's looking at you. They're looking at your scores. Is this person really strong? Can they handle all of this? And then even at Miss Earth USA, it's like they're looking at your physique. Does this person work out? Are they physically fit? Are they in healthy standing? So they're, from the outside, they seem pretty different, but on the inside looking in, on the inside, they're about the same.
Do you think any of the other contestant could participate in the physical activities of a recruit? Do you think they have what it takes?
I think if pageant girls put their mind to it, I think a lot of them could definitely do it. They
certainly have discipline.
Yeah, they have a lot of discipline. They have will. They have strength. These girls work out all the time. So I definitely think they can. They just probably need some advice or some pointers on how to get through it, but I think they'd be fine. How'd
you get motivated to participate in pageantry?
So in 2020, January of 2020, I went to NatCon, which is the National Veterans Conference. It took place in Los Angeles that year. And we had a keynote speaker who was Deshauna Barber. Deshauna Barber was Miss USA 2016 and the first actively serving woman in the military to win such a prestigious pageant title. And I got to speak to her, got to talk about everything with her, and I told her I'm very interested in pageantry and I would love to be Miss USA one day, but I don't know how to do it, and I don't know if it's something that's right for me. And she said, you got the looks, you clearly can speak well, and she pretty much just motivated me and told me, you can do it, just go for it, don't hold anything back, go to your state website and apply. And in 2021 I decided to apply for, it was too late at that time for me to apply for Miss New Jersey in 2020. So in 2021, I got myself together and I applied. That year, it was, that's the same year I was supposed to be going to the Drill Sergeant Academy. Literally a few days later, I was shipping out to go to the Drill Sergeant Academy. But that pageant weekend, it was amazing. I got to meet so many incredible women, resumes that were stacked higher than the Empire State Building. Like, it was incredible. These women were so intelligent. They were beautiful. They were kind. Like, people have this idea that pageant women are mean and horrible. They're awesome. These girls, I still hang out with so many of them till this day. Like, my Jersey girls, they're awesome. And I felt like I was at home with them. They're a great community of women. The pageant community is so supporting and kind. And if you need anything, they're always there for you. And, that same year, I got into the top. I placed within the top 19. I think it was 19 or 15 as a semifinalist. And that was my first pageant ever. So, and New Jersey is a very competitive state for Miss USA. So to do that, it was pretty prestigious and honorable.
How did you prepare for it?
Ooh, I did a lot of walking. I practiced in my heels every single day. I got two of my friends to come to my house, to my apartment all the time and just help me walk, record everything, see if I was doing everything properly. And then also, I've always been good at hair and makeup, so I've just consistently honed in on that and practiced it more. I made my own wigs. I did everything. I was not going to spend a ridiculous amount of money for my first pageant, but I did good. I feel like I did what I needed to do. I didn't win, which I was okay with because I knew it was my first pageant, but I feel like I killed it.
Was that transition from boots to heel difficult?
No, I don't think it was difficult. If anything, I feel like I kept my mental boots on. I feel like it helped me. It propelled me against the competition. And I feel like every time I tell people I'm in the military, they just eat it up. So I used that to my advantage that weekend.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. It seems like, yeah, both require some kind of a mental stamina to move forward and to compete and to be aggressive in being ahead. So you're a big advocate of environmentalism. How did you gravitate towards that?
So for environmentalism, I've always been keen on the environment. I've always been keen on making sure that we, even down to like the basic things, just reduce, reuse, and recycle. But even on social media, I follow multiple environmentalism pages, and there's a lot of different things happening in our world that really aren't good for our planet. And I feel like everybody should be making sure they keep an eye on that. And it's just always been something I've been passionate about. So any way I can help, I always take the time out and go and do it. Like the Schuylkill River, there's a environmental society not too far from it. And I went there and I got to help out, and I got to get educated on so many different things happening in Philadelphia, and learn that river provides so much water to the city and to the people in Philadelphia. And there were kids there, and we got to learn so many different things. We got to learn about the city of Philadelphia, the region, all the different animals that are within this area, how plants grow, the just climate, how it's affecting the area. And it was great. And I feel like we as a society should be honing in on those types of organizations that really educate people at a young age about their environment.
So when you were competing in the Miss USA pageantry, right, were you ever scared about anything, or like, oh man, what am I doing here?
I was scared. I did feel like, even when I went to my first orientation for Miss New Jersey USA, I felt like I didn't belong there. Just the whole military background, I just felt like this was probably two polar opposites until later on, and then I realized they're not really different. But I definitely felt like I didn't belong there at first. And just historically looking at everything, there's not a lot of Black women that have been title holders. Just recently, we've started seeing more and more. So I didn't feel like I really fit into that category. But it's changed a lot. I definitely feel like I fit in now. But back then, no, I wouldn't. I felt really nervous going into it. And even just preparing, like I didn't know what to do exactly. So I had to rely a lot on looking at the internet just to get answers that I couldn't really get from other people just because I didn't have the experience.
When you think back, would you have done anything differently?
What would I have done differently? That's a good question. Yeah, I've never gotten that before. What would I have done differently? I think that I would have practiced more on interview for sure. I'm a great interviewer now, but back then I wasn't a good interviewer. I needed to learn how to do pageantry interviewing. It's a lot more flair and attitude to it when you're speaking to people, and also educate myself more on current events at the time. When it came to wardrobe, I probably needed to realize more on that. I overpacked way too much. I tend to overpack a lot just because I want to be on the safe side, but I packed way too much. Like I packed 3 suitcases to go for this one weekend event. And then also, what else did I need to work on? It's probably going to float to me later on when I'm thinking about this late tonight, but I'd say those interview, wardrobe, definitely work on those for sure. Oh, and walking. If you could get a coach, definitely get a coach. I think I'm a great pageant walker. I am a professional model, so I know what's a good walk and what's not a good walk. But when I did Miss New Jersey USA back in 2021, I was good at walking, but not great. And in pageantry, you need to be good at walking.
So I'm just absolutely mind blown by that idea that like walking is like a big deal. Yeah. So what is it about walking in pageantry that is such a big thing.
So just being able to runway walk is like, it makes you a celebrity amongst pageant women. Sometimes walks they can become household names alone. Like Catriona Gray, Miss Universe 2018, her lava walk. That's her walk, the lava walk. Everybody knows it. Everybody, as soon as you see, even if you see somebody else try to do it, you're like, that's Catriona. That's the lava walk. Like, why are you doing the lava walk? Like, do your own walk, you know? So it's a big deal. Like, pageantry and modeling, there's a very thin wall between them. One is, you know, crowns and glitz and glam and attitude and colors. The other one is very, it's bleak. It's just modeling. You're not a personality. You're just a walking hanger. So just being able to do a runway walk, there's a different kind of level of attitude and personality to it, you know? So having a great walk is very imperative. Plus, if you want to get to the next level, if you want to get to the higher levels of pageantry, you got to know how to walk. So they're not going to choose somebody that doesn't know how to walk. You got to know how to walk at the end of the day.
Wow. I didn't even, I had no idea that was a thing in pageantry.
Yeah.
Wow. So when you're interested in being a serial entrepreneur, well, you are an entrepreneur, right? How does all of this converge into you being an entrepreneur? Like what? And you're definitely not interested in working for somebody. Clearly, you have some really strong mental capacity and attitude to be like, yeah, no, I think I can do this on my own, right? So how did that? When did you realize that's what you wanted to do?
Well, I realized that becoming a serial entrepreneur, just becoming an entrepreneur is something that I wanted to do when I'm trying to figure out the exact date or the time frame. But this was this is around my sophomore year of high school, and I would be on social media a lot. I was working at Best Buy part-time, and then this was a little after COVID started slowing down. So 2021, we were still kind of in the heat of it, but not as bad. And I stopped working at Best Buy because they didn't need a bunch of people going into work all the time. And at that point I said, well, my money is slowing down. So what am I going to do to keep my finances up? And I started my own hair care company called Renieal Essentials. That was actually inspired because I was stressing out so much and my hair just wasn't growing and it was like splitting off and everything was just bad. And I decided, let me just make like my own hair products for myself, not to sell, but just for myself. And I came up with this oil and a hair butter, and it worked really well. It helped me grow my hair out a lot. And at that point I decided, if it works for me, it could work for other women too, especially other women that have my hair type. So I decided to launch a website called Renieal Essentials, and that's what really got me into the idea of entrepreneurship. And the first year I made a good amount of money doing it. The second year it slowed down a bit, and then the second year it slowed down a bit, and so I eventually just decided to shut the website down for a bit because I was getting closer to the end of college, especially now. The website is shut down, so we're not taking any sales, but people can definitely order if they need to with me privately. But overall, that was my first taste of being an entrepreneur, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Just making my own money, being in control of how much I can make each day. Well, I don't want to say you're in control of how much money you make each day because sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen, but there's a really bright side to being an entrepreneur. You get to control your schedule. You get to do what you want to do as a business owner and come up with your own ethics and morals of what you want to do. It's definitely still hard. There's some days you just won't make any money. I remember just looking at my website like, oh my gosh, there's no sales. There's no traffic. There's nobody here. There's like one person on the site, and it was hard. And then also just financing things when you don't have anything coming in. So your product's new. A lot of people don't know about it. How are you going to find the customers? But overall, I love entrepreneurship. And then I've also, after that, I made about three new business plans of things that I want to start in the future. So I feel like they're really good. I'm working on one of them right now, getting everything officially done so I can launch the business for June. And yeah, we'll see where things are going to go with that. But I love entrepreneurship. I think it's a great field for people to go into if you think that you have the capability to handle it.
Requires a lot of energy.
Yeah, a lot. I stay up late doing some stuff, and I wake up really early just to get some stuff done too.
That is really fascinating. I mean, your story is just incredible. I mean, really incredible. So I have to know, how did you end up at Temple University?
Ooh, how did I get at Temple? So I, after I finished AIT, which is Advanced Individualized Training, I had the option to go to Monmouth University because I officially got my military benefits. And that was the plan, go to the military,
and then
get the benefits. Yeah, and go to Monmouth. And I said, I have military benefits now. I could go anywhere. This doesn't have to be just Monmouth University. So I decided to go to West Point. And that was a big decision because West Point, was a very prestigious school, very old school, but Ivy League for sure. And so I decided to apply for West Point. I went through the entire application process, got my med pros done, did my SAT over again, scored really well, and I decided to go to West Point, but I didn't get accepted. I got 3 nominations, one from Cory Booker, one from Senator Menendez, both for New Jersey, and then I got the Army nomination. They only give out 50 of those each year across the country, only 50. And I was one of them. So I said, oh my gosh, I'm definitely going to get in. And then I didn't. So I was really distraught. But I had a backup plan. So I applied to Rutgers University and I also applied to Temple University. I liked Temple because I saw a few of my high school friends that were seniors at the time. They applied and they would constantly vlog about Temple, about the area, about how awesome a school it is, and it's very diverse. And I even looked up myself, Temple University is very diverse. The students that come here, there's an entire rainbow of people. You have every single color on the spectrum. And the academics are also very good too. So I didn't know too much about the area. I'm not from Philly, so I didn't know too much about the area, which I should have done more research on before coming here. But Temple's a very good school overall. It's a very good school. Academic-wise, it's excellent. And diversity-wise, it's excellent. So I decided to come here. Before I decided to come here, I had the option of Rutgers University or Temple University. And I said to myself, I grew up in Jersey. It's time to go somewhere else. Let's just explore it. Plus, it's only an hour and a half. I can drive. I have a car. I can drive if I need to go back home. So I said, let's do it. Let's just go to Philadelphia. Plus, it's a prestigious city, the second capital of our nation. Officially, New York was technically the first capital of our nation, but Philadelphia is, pretty good too. So I decided to come to Temple, and it worked out.
Are you happy here?
I am happy. Yeah, I decided hopefully with my acceptance, I'll do my master's here too. So yeah, it works out.
Wow. This was an incredible story to hear you go from growing up before the Army, in the Army, drill sergeant, the best warrior competition, pageantry, entrepreneur, and your experience at Temple. This is a really great conversation. So the last thing that I want to ask is, from all of the things that you have seen, all the things that you have experienced, what hope do you have for humanity in the future?
Wow. The hope that I have for humanity. I hope that we as a race can become more accepting of all people, all different backgrounds, religions, colors, or sexual orientations. There's so much separation in the world. And I feel like we need to get rid of all of the barriers and statuses. I know it's inevitable to look at somebody and be like, oh, they're a different race than me, or they practice a different religion, or they speak a different language. Like, language is a barrier too. But at the end of the day, race doesn't define who we are. Religion doesn't define who we are. I know those are a lot of very important things to people, but we are one race. We're the human race, and we need to accept each other and love each other and just acknowledge acknowledge that there are problems that we have to work through. But at the end of the day, if we work together, we can get through them. And also, we need to protect our planet. That's a big thing too. A lot of people don't think like, oh, there's global warming. You know, we need to get some legislation out there, but we all need to really do our part in breaking apart these issues and breaking apart the societal, all these different holes that we've put on society that take us backward in time. We need to be moving forward. There's a lot of different things that we can do to propel ourselves forward. And I think just accepting each other, step one, would be the way forward.
That's beautiful. Well, we're going to conclude this conversation. This was really exciting and long time in the making. Had to reschedule, but really glad we were able to get together today and have this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information on military-affiliated students at Temple, visit veterans.temple.edu.